435th AGAL, Air Ground Operations Wing. It's not a traditional Air Force wing that many people may be familiar with. We do not fly any airplanes. We don't have any iron, and we don't have any installation commander responsibilities, and don't do a boss-eye mission. But have three very different groups, and all of which have some way, shape, or form of theater and or enterprise mission. So you have from left to right, the 4th Air Support Operations Group. That's TACPs, combat weather. Almost all of what they do is integrate with the Army and provide an Air Force connection between land and air forces in this theater. The 435th COG, Communications Operations Group. A few different squadrons there, one of which has some shared equity in our construction space, but First ACOS, a lot of what they do is provide JWICs, TS, connectivity for the theater. So a theater mission, First Combat Comm Squadron is kind of what it sounds like. It's tactical communicators that can deploy out on short order to provide comm capability in an expeditionary environment. They stay very busy. And then the slide is not updated. That's bad on me, but the first CMXS is now the first EIS, so the Engineering Installation Squadron. They do comm infrastructure. So we partnered with them on some construction projects. A local one here on Ramstein is the fixed site counter SUAS towers that some of you may have seen on base. There's one by the AOC, one by the LBC, and another on the southwest side of the flight line. But we did the allied construction with the foundations and utilities, and EIS erected the towers and did that piece. That was awesome integration within our wing, which is pretty cool. But that's the COG, and then you have the Contingency Response Group, which is the group that we nest under as the CTS. So the CRG, 4 squadrons, just real quick, kind of what we do, sort of a hodgepodge of different mission sets, but at the bottom of the slide, starting on the left, the 435th Contingency Response Squadron, 100% of their mission is to do the CR mission, which is to provide an expeditionary airfield opening, airfield closing capability for this theater. So what they can do is go out to an austere location, open and operate an airfield, download, upload cargo, and do all the things that are necessary to execute that mission at that site. The 435th Tactical Advisory Squadron, about half of them are aligned to the CR mission and support that mission step. The other half do an air advisor mission. So a lot of partner nation, security cooperation kinds of things, and engaging with partners here in NATO, in Europe, and also on the African continent. 435th Security Forces Squadron, about half of them are CR aligned, where they provide the base defense capability to the CR force and deploy with them. The other half, they operate a schoolhouse for theater defenders that's similar in function to the training mission that we have in CTS. And then you have us, 435th CTS. Let's talk about more on the next slide here. So with our squadron, 3-part mission. So the construction piece, the catch, which is our aircraft arresting system depot, and then our training mission. And again, I don't want to talk too many details. I want to give these other folks opportunity to talk at length about what they do. But very briefly, I will not go through each bullet on this slide, but a little bit about the CTS history. As of 2025, the squadron's been around for 75 years. So we celebrated our 75th anniversary last year, which is pretty cool. And we trace our lineage back to 1950. Post-World War II, during Marshall era, Marshall Plan, but the squadron traces its roots back to the 7,329th Labor Service Unit Engineer Construction. That's a lot to say. Organization that was activated at Rhine Mine. Basically what that was a group of local national civilians, displaced persons from World War II, that were aligned under these labor service units, providing a variety of different functions, hours, doing construction, but they were all charged with getting after rebuilding Europe after World War II. So that's where our history kind of traces its roots back to. And coming to the present today, our squadron's is not super big, about 300 folks, but about 2/3 of our manpower is local national civilians. And their existence in doing that theater construction mission here in Europe traces back to 1950 and rebuilding after World War II. But folks can take a look at that. We've had a lot of different dads over the years and worn a lot of different hats, but started with that construction mission, and over time picked up the training mission and picked up the depot mission, and are the organization that we are today for CTS. I will not speak super long about this, just an org chart, 8 flights in the squadron. And again, in various ways, shapes, and forms aligned to those 3 missions: construction, depot, and training. Even though we do have a theater mission, we operate all over the place, just here locally on Ramstein, if you weren't familiar with kind of where we're at and where our home is. If you go outside of the west gate to Ramstein and see the signs that say CTS, that points you to us. But the 600 compound, about 2 miles west of the west gate, is our main space. The depot has a separate compound further to the west. And then on Ramstein proper, we have a few different spaces that we own to get after our training mission. So executing silver flag courses and mission essential equipment training courses on Ramstein proper on the south side of the base. All right, before I hand it off to Tyler, any questions for me?
So are there engineers within the CRS, or do you own them and patch them over as needed?
Yeah, so there are 32Es and 3 E5s in CRS and the TAS. Okay. There's also some Power Pro in the CRS. Those squadrons own them. I don't. As the senior engineer in the group, if you will, and try to help out where I can as far as myself and Chief Ward, my SCL with assignments and kind of vectoring folks and developing those pieces.
Still Power Pro and Combat Com as well.
There are, yes, sir. Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. With that, I will hand it over to Captain Stout.
Good afternoon, everyone. Captain Tyler Stout, as Colonel Pagel said, I'm our contingency training flight commander. So I've been here coming on about a year, got here last July. And I'll talk over kind of what the mission is. I'll try to keep it brief for what we have, but then also field questions, same as Colonel Pagel did here at the end of my portion here. So at a macro level, contingency training flight, at least organizationally, how we're organized looks similar to a normal CE squadron, though with some different flavors. So rather than having your traditional 6 flights in the squadron, we're broken into 4. And we lump the emergency services. That's probably the largest difference that you see. So we throw our emergency managers, fire, and EOD all into one flight. And then also infrastructure systems, a little bit different. Typically you have those broken out with separate flights in a normal squadron. We throw those all together just with similar mission sets. And then at each of those level, we'll see on the next slide here, but break down further in terms of kind of the internal leadership. So more micro, a lot of boxes on this slide just to show as we're breaking out into each of those sections, just the different NCOIC type leadership roles that we have there and different roles. So for my flight, I have 51 instructors assigned to the flight, all T-coded instructors, all here selectively hired to do instruction for the enterprise. That includes myself at the flight commander level. I also have a superintendent, usually senior master sergeant, who's helping lead that side of the house. And then we have 4 sections, and each of those sections typically has a master sergeant over that leading the charge within there. But just the unique point of T-coded, we are here for instruction and go through a pretty long certification process. We take upwards to a year to be fully certified to teach the courses that we are teaching. We'll get into what courses we're looking at next. So a couple slides here to be able to talk through just the number of courses that we're hosting throughout the year. So if you look at the 52 weeks within the year that we have, about 40 of those we are teaching or instructing courses that are on the books for AFCAC and IMSC. And that's across the full gamut. Silver Flag is probably the largest, just on the far left there, Silver Flag / FSCT, that's Force Support Contingency Training. We've recently merged those courses, so we are now a joint curriculum again between CE and our course support counterparts. What I failed to mention on kind of the organizational chart, how we're broken apart, we have all of the CE AFSCs minus pest management, have force support coming in with the PERSCO side of the house and also with services. And then we also have ground transportation, a couple representatives within the flight for that as well. So where that looks like then in courses, Silver Flag FSCT, that course we host anywhere from 6 to 8 times a year, somewhere in the 1,500 to 1,800 students a year. That's a week-long training. We get them on Sunday. Some folks come in on Saturday, get them on Sunday, and then we work them all week, do a few days of academics, teaching them contingency skills. There's a full long list, wartime CAS standards is what we call them, of standards that the enterprise has defined for us that says thou shall have this competency in whatever your selected AFSC is. That we're working them through both on the academic side, but then also hands-on. We get a couple days out in the field. We'll actually deploy from the main CTS compound just west of Ramstein. We'll go to the FTX south of the flight line, get a couple days out there, and they get to build the bear base, operate the bear base, recover the air base, run them through a full contingency bear base bed down scenario. Some of the other courses you see up here, specialty courses. We are USAFE's Crane Academy as well, so have been running that course for a while. One I'd like to highlight, the NATO Crush Zone. That's a newer course for us. We've been running that here now for a couple of years. That's a pared down version of what a runway damage repair course looks like, rather than taking a week long teaching all the methods. We focus specifically on our Crush Zone crater repair method, and potentially trying to partner. We partner with USAFE, A5I to partner target nations for giving them that training, and then for them to hopefully employ that should they later want to employ that within their country. So super cool course. That's a 3-day condensed down course, and we usually host 3 to 4 depending on what we're able to fit within the year for that one as well. Next, you see runway damage repair. So we're teaching the full portfolio of being able to recover an airfield. So we do teach the Crush Down crater repair, both small and large. We teach the full Raider kit repair method as well. So the ones with saws and all the crazy attachments go through that method. They're doing spalls, pretty much any method that they can need that the Air Force teaches. Our instructors are doing that, and have it open to all of my instructors to be able to teach. So traditionally, that's just your dirt boys and your structures taking on that course. We've opened the aperture to all 51 of us instructors to be able to get certified on that course and to be able to be competent and teach any lesson in that course. Just a unique capability in that regard. Also hosts a fire course for NATO partners. That's driven some STANAG, some of the standardization agreement updates at the NATO level. So that's been a really fruitful course. We just brought online an F-35 trainer as well. So getting hands-on with the 5th gen aircraft, at least a trainer version of 5th gen aircraft for our NATO partners as well. The mobile training team, this is just a way for us to be able to send out teams both on the services side and CE side across the theater. So most recently we went out to Feltwell in the UK and did a runway damage repair course. You could have considered that an MTT, a mobile training team that went out and trained kind of the tri-base region out there, which is a really cool opportunity for us. It was a 2-week event, a 1 week of training for my team, and then a week of being able to deliver that course in theater for the engineers there. As Colonel Cagle mentioned, we also host the MEET courses, or Mission Essential Equipment Training courses. You can see just across the varying crafts, we're working on onlining a few new ones as well for emergency managers. That's in the works and kind of in the talks, if you will, at the higher enterprise level of what that can look like. But the courses that we do host for our electricians and our power production folks there, so electricians doing the distribution and then lighting. So again, contingency skills that we, as they come to Silver Flag, we would expect them to be competent in those. And this is just a higher level. It goes a deeper dive into what we can do at a Silver Flag level. Power production then doing high power generation and the aircraft arresting system. The aircraft arresting system course we recently brought back online. It was a dormant capability, if you will, for the safety theater for about 3 years. And we've recently recertified our course and working through trying to get all of our instructors certified so that by the end of this calendar year, we'll be able to execute a course. So super excited to have that back online, working with some of our site constraints, but we've been able to make do with that. On the WIFM side, that 3-4x1, so the row queue and wafers courses, being able to teach our plumbers how are they producing water in a contingency environment, and then what are they doing in terms of the fuel side as well. That wafers course we're working to bring online as well currently. And then our newest one that has been brought online is the tactical communications course, that radio communications one you see that happened, started this calendar year actually. So that's been going super well, and Enterprise has such a hungry demand for it. We're actually trying to add a few more courses for this next fiscal year. So it's super cool. You can see all the stats at the bottom for how many we do. Typically for MEATS courses, we're in the ballpark of 2 per course each year, with the 6 to 8 silver flags, with the NATO crush stones, with the NATO fires. That's where we get about 40 of the 52 weeks a year that we're continuously training, which is quite demanding, but that's what my team signed up for, and it is highly rewarding as well when you see students arrive with little to no capability to then leaving with a little bit more confidence and capability to throw them back into the Air Force to say, you're ready to go execute this mission, whether home station or downrange as needed. Training flight also plays a role, or CTS, I should say, plays a role in some of the governance process for CE and FSS. Easiest one for me to highlight is the ETWIG. You see there at kind of the AFCAC Service Center level, the Expeditionary Training Working Group. That's a working group that meets quarterly, that all of your silver flag training sites, the regional training sites, the readiness training managers, what used to be the force development managers, FDMs, all come together to be able to present what's going well, what's not going well, driving curriculum changes, WTS, the wartime task standards changes, driving changes to 10-10, so your prime beef AFI and 10-09, the Red Horse AFI, really trying to provide what we're learning from the ground up, and then making that, providing that input, I guess, to the Air Force level. That panel then feeds, similar to the warfighter requirements review, feed into the prime beef and contingency training panel, of which we're an advisor to use safety for. Right at the ETWIG, we get to have a voting member, and then up at the prime beef panel, advisor to engineers up in safety. But both of those are working to tackle problems for the Air Force. And a lot of what my team is doing at a curriculum level, they have face-to-faces, being able to daily shape curriculum, provide updates with their readiness training managers, but also bring that to an enterprise to say, not just the classes that we're hosting, but big Air Force-wise, what are issues that we're seeing. So we'll have our in-person ETWIG here in July, and things that we're looking at talking about and hoping to drive the conversation is drones, just as an example. What are we doing with drones? What are we teaching our engineers, our logisticians, and our force support personnel? What aren't we teaching them? Maybe where we should be getting after, and how can we include that into our curriculum, and then also broader picture across the CD enterprise from a readiness and training perspective, what can we do from that? So just as an example from there.
Just curious, are they receptive to field input?
Absolutely, yes, highly receptive. I've had very good success with that. We drove some pretty good changes. I know for the C2, the command and control curriculum within Silver Flag, last fall we came together and were able to standardize curriculum for the first time across that front. DIRT, as another example, our heavy equipment operators, they actually keep their TTPs in a draft status because they're making changes so often. That's easier to keep it in a draft versus publishing and then making changes and going back and forth. So absolutely. And then final slide for me, just a recap of kind of what FY25 looks like in terms of number of courses, number of students. This slide is here to communicate. We have the opportunity to affect a ton of students coming through, a ton of those 3 career fields coming through. It's not a task that we take lightly. Definitely a privilege for each and every one of my instructors and myself to be able to cover this full portfolio. 44 is a lighter number as we project into 27 and 28. That number is only rising. Demand is ever present, and we're always looking for how can we make training more realistic and more better enable our forces going down range. So that's ultimately what we're here for. With that, open up for any questions. If there's any questions online, I can't monitor the chat from over here, but any questions online or for the room.
Is your Silver Flag curriculum exactly aligned with Tyndall's?
Yes and no. So the WTS, the requirements that we're having to go through, absolutely. But if you look at the scenarios, they are different. We have quite a bit of flexibility within that. Each site, if you were to observe a Silver Flag, looks similar but different. Still going through bare base bed down, still setting up tents, still touching every single one of those mission essential tasks and contingency tasks. The scenarios look slightly different. So unique to our site, one of the adages we always tell our students is if you don't build it, you don't have it. They'll deploy out to the forward operating base, the FTX site. They don't set up a tent. They don't sleep in it. ECU, showers, latrines, everything that they need to operate and really live. That's unique to our site. Other bases have that infrastructure set up. That might be a site constraint for us, but we use it to our advantage.
And then one other question is, it's great that you're offering the tactical communications course to the 3E6s, but I would argue every one of your other components and classes requires some sort of tactical communications. So are there components of that class throughout all the other classes?
Probably not as much as the level that you're driving at, sir. Silver Flag, there's certainly an element to that. My cadre also have radio discipline that we have to go through, equally as the students do. So far, at least where the career fields ends, it's narrowed down to just 3E6s. And I have not seen kind of the radio element as strong. I know fire and EOD touch it pretty heavy. Because they're operating more in that space than maybe my electricians are. But I don't know if that answered your question. Yes, sir.
If you have one online, I'll wait.
The first one from online is, what type of support do you use or do you need from local contractors?
I guess the blanket answer is we're always doing projects. I know MCF and Depot are probably in a similar boat, always looking at trying to modernize our equipment. So I know we're constantly have a laundry list of things that we're getting after. I know it's not a direct answer to the question, but we've had good support from the local contracting community. I know that doesn't directly answer, but a whole host of projects, everywhere from pavements and electrical work to maybe larger scale projects as well.
And what contracting office do you work through?
It goes through 700 cons. So we actually have a couple members or a member embedded within our unit field support, not just from my side, but the entire squadron.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of the things I think with Society of American Military Engineers, one of our pushes to grow the STEM pipeline for America. And it's one of this program, the CTS has supported us very well with STEM fairs and things, but one of the areas that I think the entire organization would like to grow is to develop a STEM camp in Europe. They just opened one in the Pacific this year, and they have the ones in the various, like around CONUS. Based on your training schedule, you're probably the closest unit to being able to do something like that. If we looked at developing a STEM camp, whether it start with a day camp to a week long, is there flexibility in your schedule to potentially support that? And I'm not asking you like to lock in now, but to over the next year start exploring what a camp would look like, knowing that you have the tents out there, the tent city, and then some of the hands-on equipment and actually instructors with the knowledge to be able to help the students. Is that something that you think there's flexibility or room in the schedule, or you guys are just packed with everything going on and need a break during the summer as well?
Summer's our busiest season, so no break in the summer. Typically, we'll set our schedule sometime in the March timeframe, propose it up to IMSC and AFCEC to review and see how they need to slide allocations around. So our schedule for FY27 is already locked in and blessed off. Flexibility for FY27 is tight. Not to say that it's impossible to find that week window, but the earlier we're able to get that requirement. So for example, we host the Civil Air Patrol out on site as well. They come out, use Tet City on our compound for a week long, and we're able to bake their requirement into as we're building our schedule. So short answer is, if there's a requirement, if you have a target window, it gives us a little bit more flexibility. We could certainly look at FY27, though I know it is quite packed. We're usually operating spring to fall. That winter time frame, we start to close things down just with winterizing equipment, trying to keep the site not broken.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question directly.
It gives me an idea, but something we want to explore probably over the next 6 months or so.
Absolutely. Not off the table. Just the sooner we can start the conversation, the easier it is we can find some of those windows.
Chris, who's your replacement?
Eric Kramer, sir.
Okay.
He's here.
Probably a good touch point there.
Absolutely. Are there any other online questions, ma'am? Any other questions for the room for me before I pass it off to Depot? Awesome. Sergeant Baldonado, all yours.
Awesome. Staff Sergeant Baldonado. I'll be talking on depot operations. Our breakdown of our unit, we have me, 2S. We have 19 power production airmen and 1 LRO. We have the NCOICs that do the overall operations and theater support. A breakdown of theater totals for the Bach 12, Bach 14. There's 21 systems in total.
I'm gonna stop you real quick.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We have some people
Oh.
online that have not been exposed to some of these acronyms.
Oh, yes.
Would you be able to-
Later, I have some key terms I'm going to be going over. I can actually go over the key terms now if you prefer.
Thank you.
The aircraft arresting system, AAS. Bach 12 barrier arresting kit. This is a standard arresting kit for permanent installation. The system consists of 2 Bach 12 energy absorbers, so 1 on each side of the runway. I guess a gee whiz is the Bach 12 is the only system that's authorized to catch a F-35. We also have the mobile arresting aircraft arresting system. This is capable for concrete, asphalt, and soil install. The Bach 12 is consists of a 2-trailer system. I believe the cost is roughly around, for the 2 trailers, roughly around $800,000 for the set. For the Bach 14, it's similar to the Bach 12. The only difference is that the cable that runs across the runway, that's air powered, you can hit the switch and the cable rises up, and then whenever it's needed, and then whenever it's not needed or not used, you hit the switch and it goes back down. The textile and the E5 barrier, these are the last resort of catching an aircraft. From what I'm a 2S, so from what I've been told was the textile, they're kind of like a intertwined system. So once it gets caught, it kind of like, it's kind of a mess. It rips up everything. It's a single use. The E5 barrier is the same thing. It's single use, and it's giant ship anchors that are, on the side. And this is kind of a little bit dangerous to have the E5, just because once that gets hit, there's no telling what direction those anchors are going to be going. For the setback devices, we have the standard Fairleigh beam. These are placed right next to the runway. I don't have the actual specifications on how far or they need to be from the actual runway, but they go from the setback and then onto the barrier system, so like the Bach 12 or the mobile. We also have the, and then there's the three systems. This lightweight is basically the same thing, just a little bit smaller. And then the MRES is the mobile, but it's only attached with the Moss trailer. So let's see. And let me just go back a couple slides for the theater totals. So the Bach 12, Bach 14 turning systems, they're across 9 air bases. You can see the breakdown of what each base has at their installation. For the Moss, they are considered, so like I said, there's 8 systems here in at depot, 4 UTCs, and each system is 2, so 16 in total. The UTCs include the 2 systems, 2 cables, 4 Moss trailers. A standard UTC would be just 1 system, 1 cable, and the 2 trailers. For the NATO support, CTS does not program or plan overhauls for the non-U.S. Air Force owned systems, but they are the go-to for anything that they need for support for NATO. So if they're having an issue, I guess they're not authorized to go out there and fix it, but they're able to give them, hey, Britt, you need to do troubleshooting. So just they give them a call, and then they'll be able to help out. For the complete process of an overhaul, we get the old Bach 12 that gets into a disassembly to break it all down. If the parts cannot be reused, they go to myself. I do the 1-for-1 different exchange, give them to LRS or take them to DRMO. And there's, I guess, some scrap metal stuff that they don't use at all that's just tossed. If the parts are reused, then they go to corrosion control, and they get sandblasted, painted, glossed, and then they go down to their units. So they have the brake assembly, the hydrostand assembly, clutch assembly, and some miscellaneous parts. They all go onto the main assembly, which consists of the rewind engine, the gear reducer, the Bach 12 base, and the reel assembly. These all get put together, kind of like maybe like a Lego set if you were kind of picturing it in your head. Once all those parts are put back together, it goes to final assembly, and that's whenever they connect all the hydro lines, hose lines, the chain leak assemblies. They're custom fitted. And once that's done, they go to the operational check, make sure it's actually running okay, and then the final QA is done by NCOIC. Any questions? What you got?
So you said the Bach 12 is the only one that's for the F-35?
Yes, it's the only one that is certified or authorized for to catch an F-35.
So in locations that isn't there, then the F-35s cannot use that runway?
It would just be part of the Senior Airfield Authority's risk assessment of if they want to land there or not. Could still land there. That's up to whoever that next person is. She'll take that.
So then the Bach 14 is an older system, or it's just a different system that's not certified for the F-35?
The Bach 14 is basically the Bach 12. Is just the only difference is the cable. On a Bach 12 or the mobile resting system, they have the cable across with the little donuts. So they have to like manually move them off the runway. This is a little bit different. It's the raised up and lowered. That's the only difference between the two, or from what I've been told.
Yeah, a Bach 14 is a Bach 12 with like an add-on system that enables the cable to be remotely raised and lowered. If you didn't have that add-on, if you will, I mean, you need the cable to go away. Somebody has to go out, disconnect it, and cut it off. It's the exact same arresting capability.
So does that mean, I assume that an F-35 can take a Bach 14 since the heart of it is a Bach 12?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, that would have been helpful. A year ago, as they were arguing about the 12 or the 14 on one of the projects. Okay.
So I'm gonna say, like, you're like an international airport,
Yeah.
you're like the 14s, so the heavies can roll across it without pulling it down and setting it up all the time.
Like a base like Eglin that has the, Valparaiso Airport there. So in fact, you can feel it when you taxi out or when you're getting ready to take off or when you land, you can feel where the trench is, where it would be.
Can make a note of that.
And if you guys have any other questions, I'm not the expert on the resting systems, but I mean, if you want to write out a question, I can get the answer to you and send it back out. So if there's anything else.
Some people just don't like to maintain.
What?
Suitabay, but
Never heard of it.
Oh.
You did that.
Hello, everybody. Sergeant Wilkins. I'm the superintendent for military construction flight. So Colonel Cagle mentioned we've got three primary missions: construct, catch, and train. Construct is broken down into the military construction flight and our German construction flight, right? So the big difference is that military construction flight was originally started to do humanitarian assistance. We went from humanitarian assistance into contingency response, and we've kind of shuttered that contingency response-ish, right? We still maintain the capability per se, and I'll get into that here in a little bit, but we are the newer of the flights. The other advantage in having a military-only construction cell is that we come with a security clearance. So things like munitions areas where it might be tougher to get a German local national into, military folks usually don't have a problem with it. And we've seen that happen a few times throughout. So this is everywhere that we've done construction, and these are all the different types of construction we do. But basically, we'll run, I don't know, 28, 30 something $million of construction between the two flights. We do stay under that MILCON threshold. So shooting for about 3 million, 2 to 3 million is generally about the capacity of what we're able to do. You know, if you're looking for a massive building to be built, probably find a different person to do that. It's probably going to be MILCON anyways. So we won't really look at it. Cradle to grave. So embedded in the squadron in our support side is logistics, engineering, contracting, etc. So when we get a customer that says, I want this thing built, our first stop is to meet with the customer with one of our engineers and to start the design. These are German engineers, licensed engineers. They will design it, they will sign it, they will stamp it, etc. Give us actual construction drawings to take out on the site. They'll build out our bill of materials, work with contractors to develop that exact thing that we're looking for, whether it's design translations for foreign countries, or if it's a specific type of material, fairly beam tubes, for example. Kind of what Sergeant Baldonado was talking about. It's a very specialized thing, so we have to find that special contractor that can make this special thing, and it takes years to get, but I think we're finally there. Like I said, civilian primarily takes those larger projects, but we will oftentimes interlink with each other, whether it's, again, because of that security piece or because of its expertise piece. Our German flight, their people have been doing this for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Our guys are here for 3 years. They just don't have that same level of expertise. So a lot of times, one of us will go with the Germans, one of the Germans will come with us, et cetera, and kind of go back and forth between the two. We already talked about some of the limits. Overall size, it's just, if it's too big, you know, we're talking 18 people in military construction and about 100 in the German flight, but the German flight is split between 8 different things that they're doing too. So we maybe only have 10 or 15 people to put to a project at one time. So that's kind of your scale. And then overall, we do facility construction repair, more so on the repair side, small construction, like expeditionary type stuff. We have a rubber removal. They will rotate through all of the USAFE owned airfields every 2 years, year, whatever. They go through, hit every airport. They're consistently traveling. They'll also do some of that joint repair and sealing. And then K-span. Has anybody ever heard of a K-span? All right, so military construction flight has a K-span capability. This is similar to a pre-engineered metal building, except it's more printed on site. What it does is it takes raw rolled steel to put it inside of a machine that forms it out into kind of a V shape. And then you put it back in the other end and it makes a half circle, and you can set this building up. It's a freestanding structure. You just have to have a hole in the ground to put concrete and hold the metal together. These can be built to the size to be able to house aircraft, right? So 120 feet wide, 60 feet tall, and unlimited depth. So you can fit some pretty big airplanes in those as necessary. We also have, on the German side, carpenters and metal shops to be able to make these custom things that we need wherever we need them. Rebar, forms, you name it. Like I said, we already talked about humanitarian civic. The rules in NATO USAFE on how humanitarian works and how it's funded has changed a lot, which is kind of why we've moved away from this. It used to be very easy to hire us and say, hey, we need help. Our X broke. Our road is gone. Come and build a road. Now NATO's like, no, who's paying for this? And there's a whole bunch of weird stuff with that. As well, we do exercise-related construction and theater security operations. If you've heard of EDI or European Defense Initiative or PPI, Poland.
Provided infrastructure.
Thank you. We have executed on projects under both of those. So you name it, we're probably doing it. Typically, we work for DOW. However, we can work directly for that foreign country through foreign military sales, which we've done a couple of times. These are some of the projects that we've done. Like I said, interior renovations, pre-engineered metal buildings, a full hangar. For example, the construction crew did a full hangar out of Câmpia Târzi, Romania a few years ago that houses the Air Force units and their airplanes right now. And then we've done all sorts of different towers. This is from a while ago where we actually put the tower up, but we have partnered with wing agencies, EIS, which is Engineering Installations Support Squadron, to help them with these counter-Suez towers, right? We bring in our experts, they bring in their experts, and we partner together to make this project happen. A lot of horizontal lately. If you've been to Garmisch anytime recently and seen the nice roads, that was part of our crew that did that. recessed aircraft arresting systems, the Bach 14, which you see at Ramstein. And then joint seal taxiways, basically if it's a road or a surface that an airplane might be on, we can probably fix it. We've gone to Spain, we've gone to Poland, and then we're also starting to get into dirt runways as well across the U-safety for this same kind of thing.
You birthed the roundabout over by the commissary fire station too, didn't you?
Yes, we're just not going to talk about the timeline though. Yes.
Most people know that one better than the Gomer's one, the roundabout, right by the fire station, the commissary there, past the dental clinic.
Yep.
That was the CTS project. Yep.
Absolutely. Any questions so far? I know I'm kind of talking a little bit fast. Sorry. What do you got?
So you talked about having in-house design staff, and you had German designers. You also have American, US.
No-ish, right? So it is German engineers, period. However, inside of military construction flight, we have 3 E5s, which would be the Air Force's engineering assistants. They will assist with going out and doing data collection for that design, helping to read the design or offering inputs. Like if we don't understand, we have that good communication specifically between our 3 E5s and the German engineers, just like you'd have at a US-based prime beef squadron to work back and forth with each other. The difference here is that we actually go out and execute that thing later on.
And it seems that, so if you have German designers, but you're working in all these other countries, that they are pretty versed in, is there a special agreement that?
That's the thing, sometimes we have to contract a support to take the design that we created and, say, yes, Jay Verlin, this meets design criteria in whatever the country is. It's a thing. Yeah.
And when you do that, do you go through 700 cons?
Sometimes.
I'm just asking for the benefit of other non-military.
Generally, if it's a local requirement here, we almost like forced to go through 700 cons for better or worse. But we have our own KO in the squadron. That's a newer thing. And then within our group, they're intended to support the CR mission, the deployed mission. But if it is a non-local requirement, oftentimes we can use the KOs in the CRG or our own in the squadron. They're military kids, but
we also have a purchasing on both the German side and the military side. So with GPCs and project funds, we're able to, as long as it's inside of the GPC amount, we can just swipe the card and pay for it, which definitely helps speed a lot of things up sometimes where maybe we're dealing with big communication barriers. For example, in Romania, that's the most recent project we just did, where we have German drawings that are written in English so we can build them, but they're also provided in German. Well, the Romanians can't read either, so they're like, what is this? How do we get it approved? So we actually had to go out and find a person who was similar to an AE, but with a stamp to actually convert the drawings into Romanian, get them stamped and delivered to the base so the base could approve the construction.
Yeah.
And we were able to pay that guy with GPC. So lots of different options to be able to get those converted. Some countries are way better with it. Some countries just don't care, and some care way too much.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or? All right. Yes. Major Tanazi and his brother Captain Tanazi. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to get into one of the big projects. I say one, it's actually kind of two-ish. So we have executed 2 Bach 12 installations in the relative near past, right? So at Campia Terzi, we installed 2 permanent cables. Now this was there's nothing and we have to install something. There was a Moz system, which happens to be Depot's, that has been there for way too long on the task board. Depot wants it back. Romania, through the foreign military sales, said, hey, we want F-35s. And the Air Force said, cool, but you got to have arresting systems in order to get them. So Romania is going through the process of acquiring the F-35s. They should be being delivered, I think, next year, at least the first batch of them. So that'll be pretty neat to see some F-35s out there. But we had to build an aircraft arresting system for them. So like Sergeant Baldwin said, typical aircraft arresting system, whether it's Moz, Bach 12, Bach 14, something like that, has 2 brakes, has 2 fairlead beams, and 1 cable stretched between the 2. Bach 14, the cable goes up and down. Bach 12, the cable has to be detached so that any other aircraft can go over it, specifically heavies. Heavies are so low that their antennas will get broke off on the cable. So that cable has to get out of the way. Commercial, yeah, that's definitely a no-go to have one of these there. It's going to mess up the airplane. And so a lot of our foreign customers are getting the Bach 12s because it's cheap and it's fast, or the mod system. If you have a Bach 14, you're not going to use your runway for 2 years. That's kind of the it of it, right? So if you're okay with doing a displaced threshold where the airplanes land further down the runway, which is its own risk, cool. Commercial airports are not going to say yes to that, which is one of the things we're going through with Romania right now. The Romania FMS case asked for 2 Bach 12s at Camp Pieterzi, and it asked for a modified in-ground Bach 12. Now, I know you might be saying, well, hey, Bach 14's in-ground. Yes, the cable of Bach 14s are in-ground. However, we're doing a Bach 12 where the actual braking system is buried about 3 meters underground. And the reason for that is wingtip clearance on the left and right side for a commercial airport. So what we'll be doing is, this is a typical, I know you can't see on the screen, I'm sorry, but the Bach 12 is usually mounted level with the airfield surface. We're going to sink it in the ground 3 meters and then use a couple of sets of pulleys to actually be able to get this wide braking strap up to the ground surface. The fairlead beams will be mounted at the ground level, run a cable across the systems. I don't think I have a picture of that, but it is a type of thing that we can do. A little more complicated.
I'm like trying to visualize.
Yeah.
There's Bach 12 bolts.
Yes.
Places in the airport.
Yep.
With the Bach 12 ferry.
Yep. They exist. You know, like Norway has one, for example, at Vaness Fly Station way up north. It's a commercial airport that has this type of system as well, so that they can get their jets in. Orland is the same way. So Norway is actively using those types of systems. So like I said, we've executed this at Camp Pieterzi, or in the process finishing up Camp Pieterzi. That was a fresh build. And then Slovakia was a rebuild. So what happened at Malacky Air Base in Slovakia was they had one cable that was installed 2 or 3 decades ago, and they never maintained it. So then the concrete started getting water in it, started freeze thaw. Concrete is no longer suitable to be able to hold the braking system. What we would call the absorber no longer can absorb that hit. It was unsafe. Slovakia is trying to get new airplanes. We said, hey, you got to get this thing fixed. To Sergeant Baldomero's point, Slovakia is Spangdalen's real property. Therefore, we maintain Slovakia. Romania is Romanian property. We won't touch it. However, we can advise through one of the other squadrons like the TAS, using their air advisors, to go out and actually do the training on, hey, this is how you operate this system. So the group as a whole really does work together on these things for training and et cetera. Quick video here of I believe this is at Slovakia. This was actually catching the cable. This is during the certification event. So the airplane has already landed, speeds up to X miles an hour or knots, and grabs the cable. And everybody is hoping and praying that it does not rip out of the ground at that point. This is what the absorber looks like. So this is roughly 2.5 meters. It is solid concrete rebar. When you build the rebar cages in here, you find the smallest guy and you throw them in the middle and hope they can get out of that. It is, on the next picture, I'll show you what the rebar looks like. But as far as what you're seeing here, the tube on the right-hand picture, this red tube, that is what the tape goes through. So from the Bach 12 system, it's a spooled up hunk of strapping about this wide. And all of that is the actual braking thing. The faster it goes, the harder it breaks. That tape goes out through the tape tube, or the fairlead tube, this red tube that you see on the right side, and that's what actually connects onto, it goes through the fairlead to connect onto that steel cable. The steel cable only exists on the runway surface. The rest of it is this wide fabric webbing. This is what the rebar cage looks like. This is hand done. Like I said, you start from the bottom and you start putting pieces in and bending it right and hooking it together, and hopefully the guy can get out from it. You'll also see the bolts here. That's where the actual component will bolt to. Those bolts are about 3 feet down into the body of that concrete. So again, the goal is that when an airplane catches this, nothing moves. If it does move, it's kind of like the anchors he said, where who knows which way it's going to go. We don't want that. When all said and done, this is what you see. You'll see the barrier shacks. These are made out of pretty lightweight frangible. They're meant to fall apart if an airplane hits them. We hope it doesn't. But again, at a commercial airport, they are not going to want this on the runway. The tower can't see the airplanes. The planes don't want it, etc. So we have to sink this entire thing into the ground. And then we just put a flat top on it. And then you'll also notice we have airfield marking. We call these moon. These aren't exactly moon markers. Moon markers are the uprights, but this tells the pilot, hey, there is supposed to be a cable here. So if they're trying to catch it, it gives them a point to aim to. And if they're not supposed to feel a bump and they do, they know what they hit. Just a visual marker. Hey, there's supposed to be something here. There also is going to be like a distance to go, a vertical marker that the pilots can actually see. It's lit up as they're coming in for that approach. Those are just the main projects we've done. We've done a lot of other stuff. So if you've got questions on projects anywhere from Norway to Turkey, and as far east as Romania, far west as England, we've done all of Europe. So, yeah.
I didn't think CT, at least when I was there, I didn't see commercial aircraft coming and going. Is there a different reason they don't want them?
So CT doesn't have commercial, but Macau does. So Macau is the airport, commercial airport to the east,
Right.
southeast.
So I guess why at CT are we, what's the reason why haven't put the Bach 12 mechanisms into the ground?
I'm sorry. No. So CT is above ground, Macau is in ground.
Oh, that's where you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are working through the process.
Macau's supposed to get F-35s. They're not going to cram more F-35s at CT with all the F-16s.
Correct. Well, the 16s probably are going away, I would assume, with the 35s. I mean, they ordered 32 of them. So they're, from what I'm being told from my ROAF contacts, is those 35s are going to go everywhere. The main depot right now is actually at Macau. And so when they're bringing all the airplanes into Macau, they're actually using one of the net styles like Sergeant Maldonado talked about. It's like table tennis, right? Like a little short net that the airplane runs into. That's the net style. And good luck getting it out of the airplane. That's the problem with them. So at Macau, that's where Romanians have decided that this is going to be our depot level maintenance for these aircraft. So we have to have a cable. The problem is civil airport or civilian airport. So there's this two-headed monster that we're fighting between the civilian legislative and the military, what we want. And that's an internal fight to Romania that they have to figure out before we can really start executing. There's also, I forgot the acronym, but it's the European version of the FAA. The European,
ICAO.
was that?
The ICAO.
No, it's ESA something. European Aviation. I don't remember the acronym, but basically this group has said, hey, we need to see this system in place at other civilian airports before we can say, yes, it's a safe thing to do. So using Norway as an example is a great thing because we can say, hey, look, Norway has F-35s. They have this system. They have civilian airport, flights coming in daily on these airports. So use that as an example. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, back in the day, case spans were the thing.
Yep.
As we look at adaptive manufacturing, are there any plans for you all to field something like, we're seeing other services use, 3D printing essentially, anything like that coming down the pipe for you?
Nothing that has been discussed. So our boss, A4, if they tell us that they want us to do the thing, then we say, okay, we'll figure out how to do the thing, but also give us money for it.
Yeah.
For example, A4 has asked us to onboard LAMs as a UTC, right? They said our mission need is for you guys to be able to go out, build LAMs, repair LAMs. How do you do it? I said, okay. On large area maintenance structures. Thank you. So LAMs, or these large area maintenance structures, are tension fabric shelters that would be put up usually for painting areas or structural type things on the maintenance part of a runway. We've seen them all over the Middle East with pretty good success. The advantage of using the lambs or a different tension fabric shelter type, they're relatively quick to put up. The disadvantage is that no one ever maintains them. They are supposed to be on a 6-month inspection and maintenance timeline. Usually we get called at year 3 and said, hey, our thing is broken, can you come fix it? So we have started to see these lambs. Case bands are still a thing. I would rather have a customer ask for a case band than the lambs. Case bands will last that 30 to 50 years. And they don't really take that terribly much longer. However, case bands are kind of this gray area of, is it real property, is it not? Because it's sunk in the ground a couple of feet. So we definitely have that fight sometimes with the main operating base on, we can't add any more facilities because of current mandates, so we can't have a case band because it's real property.
What's your case bands are limited right now, right, on width?
So it depends on the machine, but yes. So we have 2 different machines which will build out 2 different sizes. So like I said, about 120 foot wide by about 60 foot tall. And then as far as you're walking in the front door, how far can you go? It depends on how much steel you want to buy. Any other questions?
All right, that's what we've got.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Lee. I am the current hydrocon post president. I don't like public speaking, so that's why I have other people do that for me typically. But as a post president, I'd like to give you guys a token of our appreciation to each of you. This is our kind of Squadron post month. So each of y'all get one of these. Typically we have coins. We haven't actually remade the coins yet, so we really have those. So a mug is more useful than a coin, right? You guys probably have a bunch of them already. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
And then did you guys need another, do we have 5 folks? Or somebody?
Holly's out here, so
Okay,
send it.
yeah, you want to send that with them? No.
No.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody online, sorry. I hope everybody online really enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, reach out to Jen. She can probably get you in contact with the speakers here. So we really appreciate you guys coming out and doing the presentation.